All right, y'all, welcome to another episode of Medicine Mondays, and we are going to have a little bit of fun today. We're still talking about COVID, but we're going to make it a little bit light. We're going to make it a little bit light, a little bit educational, because I know you guys like a mixture of two. I don't even have a title of this episode yet, right? The general theme is I'm going to bring a little TikTok, comedic relief to our YouTube channel, right? Again, we don't want to be always so serious when we come on here. And if you follow me on TikTok, I suggest you follow me on TikTok. Link will be in the said description. Typically, I reserve my TikTok to kind of respond to comments because one, the format is a little bit easier, especially from a video perspective, a little quick, easy. On our video where we talked about COVID cases were rising, we had a lot of feedback, a lot of quick feedback, right? And whenever we give quick feedback, we want to, give those people a chance to say, hey, you know what? I see your comment. So let's talk about it. So what we're going to do, you're going to see some comments here and we'll have a little discussion on the comments, right? I think it's important, right? It's not too much, but it is going to be a little educational, lighthearted, but also kind of, poking back because what I seem to find, right? And I don't know if this is my niche or something, but people who don't like hearing about COVID or don't like COVID, don't like the vaccine, for some reason, like follow me or like commenting on videos that I do, trying to educate you guys, right, about COVID, right? I'm just trying to give the Lunch and Learn community, those who want to be a part of the Lunch and Learn community, a little chance to, hey, let me get my information on real quick while I'm here on YouTube or listen to the podcast. But I seem to find those who really seem to want to let us know about their disdain for COVID vaccine and prevention and everything else coming under the sun. So we're going to give them a little bit of shine today. First and foremost, let's start out with this first comment. So this first comment from KJ Brocky says, it is rising among those who got the shots. Dear God, listen to the doctors that have been talking about this exact scenario for 3 years. KJ Brocky is referencing is the fact that COVID cases were rising. But because COVID cases are rising, now again, and we talked about this, summer and winter, this is when COVID cases will always rise. It's going to premiere. It's here. It's not going anywhere. But what KJ Brocky wants us to believe is that they are rising because people got vaccinated from COVID. Not that they're rising because there's new variants. Not that they're rising because those who didn't get vaccinated keep allowing COVID to spread to everyone. No. It's rising because those who actually got vaccinated. And we've done a little bit of education on this in the past where we just think fundamentally, if me and you are viruses and we have two hosts to go to, one host has the medication, aka vaccine in their system that can fight me, and another host does not have that medication, aka vaccine in their system to fight me. Which one would I rather choose? For some reason, my anti-vax folks, right? My anti-vax company wants us to believe that the COVID virus would rather go after someone who is vaccinated and not someone who is not vaccinated. That's what they want us to believe. And they want us to believe that there's been a conspiracy theory from physicians like myself to educate you guys on getting vaccinated because we knew that the cases would rise in only the people who got vaccinated, which obviously is not the truth. KJ Brocky wants us to believe that, right? So pretty, like I said, I get some funny ones, right? And trust me, as far as comments I highlight, I probably get 4 to 5 times more, but I just kind of ignore it. But I figure, hey, YouTube guys been showing me a lot of love. Again, shout out to my YouTubers. If you're a podcast listener, listening to this, make sure you subscribe to the YouTube. I'm getting a lot of love on YouTube, so I want to make sure we give YouTube their just due. So next comment. Florence 3121 says, COVID is back because you should never let a good crisis go to waste. So again, right, this is one of these comments that I typically get where there is this conspiracy theorist groups out here who believe that COVID not only is a conspiracy, not only was it a purposefully man-made virus to, quell population that arose in China, but that every single government around the world was in cahoots to shut down the world for financial reasons, even though there's a lot of financial catastrophe associated with the pandemic, right? Florence 3121 will have you believe that, hey, this is a great time to bring back a crisis, right? Because, hey, why not, right? And again, as an educator, these are just some of the comments that you have to be able to deal with and understand where they're coming from and why they may feel the way they feel, right? So Florence 3121 says, COVID is back because you should never let a good crisis go to waste, and not for the fact that COVID is biannual. It happens in the summer, it happens in the winter, and that is why it's right. That is our comment from Florence 3121. J. George 789 says, says, I'm a hairstylist and haven't stopped wearing my mask in the salon. I stand over clients at the shampoo bowl. I don't want to breathe down on them and I don't want them breathing down on me, right? Amazing comment, right? When we talk about those people who are in high risk industries, barbershops, hairstylists, healthcare industries, those who have consistent face-to-face interactions with people, right? We're the ones who are at the highest risk of transferring and receiving said disease. So I love JJor789 is like, hey, I'm still wearing my mask. I'm not going to stop wearing my mask because one, right? And this is what I kind of mentioned in the video. I don't want to get it from you, but I personally definitely don't want me giving it to you, right? Like I feel that the risk of a fair exchange is so high. I want to quell that risk at any chance I get. But unfortunately, one of my anti-vaxxers have found her comment and started laughing, right? Because they thought it was funny that JJor, the hairstylist, would want to protect themselves and their clients from passing COVID, flu, whatever, right? They thought it was funny. And again, you got to understand where their mindset is, right? They don't believe COVID is real. They don't believe COVID is significant. So they don't even understand why a hairstylist would want to even protect themselves from it. We do what we can. This is another one. Judy Hine 3737. Masks don't stop viruses. Wash your hands. And if you cough, cover your mouth with your arm and the bend of the elbow. It's worse for you. Getting all kinds of germs you are rebreathing, wearing masks all the time. You need to let your natural immune system build up as well. Let's start there, right? Because there's some more stuff. Let's stop there. Masks don't stop viruses. Now, we obviously know, especially if you've been following me long enough, this is not true. Right? This is just not true. When we talk about COVID or the flu or any other respiratory disease, they are spread by respiratory droplets. Now, these respiratory droplets, they are a particular size. So if I wear a mask that blocks out respiratory droplets of a particular size, guess what? I stop that virus. Now, when we talked a lot about the N95 masks, especially for COVID, we talked about how COVID virus and their respiratory droplets were so small that if you did not have an N95 mask, your risk at blocking 100% of the COVID is going to be very low. Now, you see a lot of people wear the cloth mask, right? I wear the cloth mask as well. You see a lot of people wear cloth mask. We understand that, hey, our risk is not zero of getting COVID when we wear this cloth mask. But we know this cloth mask can stop the flu in its tracks pretty easily, and most other respiratory viruses and bacterial bugs pretty easily. And we understand that because the cloth mask doesn't protect to a level of COVID, that the chance of getting COVID is still there, right? So the masks don't stop viruses is kind of half true depending on the mask. If I have an N95 mask, COVID's not passing through that, right? Like that's what they're made for, right? Like when you see people who are painters and they're painting and fumes and everything else, the reason why they're not fearful of getting any of those fumes or breathing any of those toxins in is because the type of mask that they have will block those droplets, especially depending on the size of those droplets from them breathing it in. It's the same kind of process when we think about the mask, right? So masks don't stop viruses are like not true and kind of depends. Washing your hands, of course, I agree with. Wash your hands for sure. It's getting worse for you. Getting all kinds of germs you are rebreathing, wearing masks all the time. That's not true. Right? That is just no, right? Typically, again, if you are blocking the respiratory droplet from getting in, you're not going to be continuously rebreathing in the germs, right? That just like this physiologically doesn't really make any sense whatsoever. And you need to let your natural immune system build up as well. I have a video on this on my TikTok. I'd have to find it because it was a while ago that I did it, where I talked about this onus of the natural immune system. And usually it's a knock at people who get vaccines like, oh, don't get vaccinated. Let your immune system build up to fight it. And I say all the time, right? One, there's plenty of studies. In fact, don't even listen to me. There are plenty of studies that have shown those who are naturally immune because they got the disease, their immunity did not last as long as a person who got the vaccine, right? There's plenty of studies. I don't have to show you. Let's Google them, right? Because I don't want you to be like, I'm pointing you in the wrong direction. There's plenty of studies that show that the immune duration that you have from getting the vaccine lasts a lot longer versus if I get sick. And then I always tell people, if I I have the option not to get sick with COVID and hope I'm not one of the 2% people that die, or the higher percentage of people who get hospitalized, or the higher percentage of the people who get symptoms, I kind of rather avoid that than maybe having some arm pain, discomfort from getting the vaccine. Now, yes, you may have some rare reactions from getting the vaccine, but talk to your doctor. Of course, the likelihood of me wanting to actually get the disease and let my natural immune system fight it for me versus just getting the vaccine, it just like theoretically doesn't make sense, right? And again, the person says, hey, as a respiratory therapist for 35 years and ER and ICU, top for 28 years, unless you have cancer or other health issues. I like this part, right? One, they're trying to quantify themselves, say, hey, I'm a respiratory tech, right? Let me tell you something. Healthcare workers are some of the most hypocritical beings out here, right? We are more do as I say, don't do as I do, right? I know lots of respiratory therapists who smoke cigarettes, respiratory therapists, right? You would think if any profession wouldn't smoke a cigarette, it'd be a respiratory therapist, especially when they take care of all of the people who typically deal with those end-stage symptoms of having long-term smoking. You would think they'd be the last people, but you'd be surprised how many respiratory therapists smoke and do some other things that they probably shouldn't do. So them just being a respiratory therapist, either in ER and ICU, doesn't really mean anything to me, only the fact that, you know, they have some background in understanding it. But I can assure you there's a lot of respiratory therapists, right, who are not here with us today, right, because they passed away from complications of COVID. So I can assure you that when COVID is doing COVID's thing, you're going to protect yourself from COVID. You're going to try to vaccinate. You're going to try to do all the things there. But they do mention, unless you have cancer or other health issues. So at least they're trying to give a caveat to say, hey, if you got some risk that may decrease your immune system, you might want to do a little bit more to protect yourself. So I do like that saving grace. Be healthy, eat right. I do like that. It's just some things, right? Again, it's a little hit and miss, right? I like the comment, right? I actually like the comment. I do like the comment. There's some just educational things that from a nuanced perspective, if you don't know, right? Like if you don't know, you might take this comment as gold and think like, oh, I'm good. Like that's what I need to do. Fortunately, it's usually not the case. But again, thank you, GD Hine, for commenting. Bond Peacer says, thank you for the info. I appreciate you. I love doing what I do, especially here on my social media channels or podcast, however you listen to this. Like right now, I'm just staring into a camera. I don't know how many people are going to watch this video later. I don't know how many people are going to comment on this video. I'm just appreciative, whether you like the video or not, I'm appreciative that you take the effort to do it, right? So Bob Pearson says, thank you for the info. I appreciate you. Gina Chong 7053 says, sure, in highly vaxxed countries. Get it? Right? So this is one of these ones. Again, shout out to my anti-vax. I love my anti-vax. I know it may seem like I don't like my anti-vaxxers, but again, education is education, right? So if I got to educate someone, I'm going to educate them regardless of how they come at me. So Gina says, yeah, of course the COVID cases are rising in highly vaxxed countries, essentially insinuating that the reason why they're rising is because of the vaccine. Again, that fallacy, it's a simple fallacy. It's a hilarious one. I'll be honest, it's a very hilarious one, but it's a simple fallacy that says that the reason why the cases are rising is because those who are vaccinated are the reason why they're rising. So anti-vaxxers have from the beginning blamed COVID on those who got vaccinated. They blame the spread on COVID on those who got vaccinated. They have from the beginning, right? So this isn't like a new phenomenon. Like I said, I haven't talked about COVID much this year, only because, things to talk about, right? And I know people are trying to move on, but what I found interesting with this video and with the comments, I was like, oh, you know what? We may have to add COVID once a month or something, right? Because you get comments like this, which lets us know that the education still needs to be had. Mr. Danielle Brown says, using wastewater is also historical as this understanding has been pivotal in learning previous contagion. Yeah. So, and we kind of talked about during the video how it's not as if the reason why we know COVID cases are rising is because they are, swabbing everyone, because that'd be invasive, right? But they're seeing COVID levels rise in wastewater. And because they're seeing the levels rise in wastewater, they know that the levels are rising. They know that the cases are rising. Then when we talk about hospitalizations, we know the hospitalizations are rising. Talk to your local hospitals, they'll tell you, yeah, I'm seeing more and more COVID. I was just working this past weekend in a hospital. I took care of 5 or 6 people with COVID, right? So COVID is there. COVID is still putting people in the hospital, still causing a lot of sequelae and issues associated with it. Daisy says, I live in Puerto Rico. Many have gotten COVID. Me and my husband, 3 weeks sick. We were vaccinated in the beginning. Now I see my skin drying and it has worried me. What should I do? And KJ Brocky again says, oh dear, first and foremost, do not get any more shots, right? So even when those who are looking for answers, pose a question on the video, my anti-vaxxers will typically answer it before I get a chance to answer it, right? And we're going to to answer, Daisy, we'll answer it now. What typically happens, especially because I'm not sure if Daisy got boosters, I'm not sure what's been going on, but we've talked about how the rise in cases are predicated on newer variant. One of the first, let's say you're Moderna Mafia, you're from Pfizer gang, right? You got vaccinated early 2021, right? Like you've been vaccinated, but you haven't gotten a booster or anything since then. We have newer strains out, which is why we always recommend getting the new COVID vaccines and new boosters, right? To deal with some of these newer strains, because the vaccine you might have gotten 2-3 years ago isn't going to be effective. It's the same reason why we always say get a flu shot every single year. It's not because we want to, raise a lot of money, get a flu shot. It's because we know that there are a lot of variants that arise every single year because the flu replicates a lot, that like, hey, I need to create a new batch of vaccine to take care of it. So that would be my question for Daisy. Now, she mentioned the skin drying. Now, I haven't heard of any dermatological associations associated with these newer variants, but it wouldn't shock me. Again, COVID is just one of these viruses, one of these problems that seems to affect almost every organ system. So why wouldn't it affect the dermatologic as our biggest organ in the body? The Vonnie Von Show, shout out to you, says mask up, keep that immune system optimized. 100. Short and sweet info. We love it. Thank you, Vonnie. Vonnie Von. Again, because that's what we try to do here, right? We try to give you information short and sweet. We try to give you information that you need to learn from. Parting shot says mask up and keep the immune system optimized. And we know what we talk about. Optimization. We're talking about vaccines. We're talking about boosting. We're talking about washing your hands. We're talking about using that hand sanitizer. We're talking about social distance when you can. So there's a lot of different things that we can do to kind of optimize our approach, right, to getting vaccinated or just dealing with COVID or the flu or whatever bug you want to think about causing problems, and you have to do it. And again, the Vonnie Von Show, right, shout out to you, wants to let us know, mask up and keep that immune system optimized, especially while COVID cases rise, right? So we got Gina, again, just before we get out of here. With all due respect, the cat is out the bag. The data is here. The investigation has happened. It is out in the open. Get familiar with the shock. What does Gina know that we don't know? And this is always a question I have my anti-vaxxers. What do y'all know that we don't know? We in the science community, we in the healthcare community, infectious disease community, public health community. What do you guys know? What is the data that is there? I'm going to respond. What data are you referring to, right? Because I like to hear it, right? I like to hear it. I like to read it. But typically what you'll find with these anti-vaxxers is that because they all kind of roll with the same group, because they all get their information, more importantly, their misinformation from the same source, they typically parrot the same things over and over again, which is why it's very easy to argue with them. I think a lot of times they think it's like a difficult endeavor to like have an argument with them. But it's never a difficult issue because they all say the same thing. So once you answer one, you know that give it a day or so, someone's going to say something very similar, or they're going to wait a couple months and they'll say the same thing over and over again, right? So it becomes this thing where it's like, yeah, I hear you, Gina. The shocker's out the bag. The investigation, I don't know what investigation Gina's referring to. I don't know what's out in the open. All I know is COVID cases are rising. We need to protect ourselves, and to do well protecting ourselves, we got to mask up. We got to social distance. We got to wash our hands, hit that hand sanitizer, and more importantly, you got to get the booster. Get your booster when the booster is available. I love it, right? We're bringing a little comedy, education here to our YouTube channel because that's why y'all are here for. Shout out to my podcast listeners. I still appreciate y'all too, even though y'all not watching the video, but make sure you subscribe. Even if you're not a YouTuber, come to the YouTube channel, hit the subscribe button, and then go back to listen to our podcast, right? So y'all be blessed. Y'all have a great weekend, and I'm going to see you guys next week.